Hello there, welcome in. Well, the new shipment of the Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2 watercolor soluble wax pastels arrived this week, so I've completed the set. They offer 84 different colors in that range, and I did a preliminary color chart. I took a look at it, and I decided I wanted to make another one that arranged them more by value. So we've got the darker, more muted to the lighter and brighter colors. So I thought I'd get a little live stream going here and share it with anybody who wanted to have a look at this. They're an interesting media. I had been curious about them, and so I've been working with them for a while, and this last week I made an order with Jerry's Artorama, and I'm happy to say that they came very nicely packaged, and also they arrived a day ahead of the expected delivery date, so I'm well pleased with that. That's certainly an improvement from the experience with the last mail order art supply company. They also packaged them nicely in a box that has that was made for the purpose. And compared to the other company sent the goods, almost $100 worth of art supplies, and they sent them in this box that had been cut down from something pulled out of recycling that had gaps all around it, and it just didn't look like it was packaged with much care. So I was well pleased that the folks at Jerry's Artorama took the time to prepare my order with some care. I appreciate that. And then I'm also kind of thrilled because there were 4 different sizes of bubble wrap in it, and I love doing mixed media, and bubble wrap, it's kind of fun to print with. So they sent, like I said, a variety of 4 different types of bubble wrap, and I'm going to use that to do some printing in my art journal. So it's like, it's just the packaging, but I'll put it to use. I'll make most anything into an art supply. Hello out there. How's everybody doing? I'm also incorporating not only the wax pastels, but I have a new assortment of the watercolor pencils that are Faber-Castell, the Albrecht Dürer artist grade pencils. So I'm working these into the color chart as well. And just trying to take a look and just, I'm not being super perfectionistic about this. Sometimes with new media, it's helpful to swatch things, and then you just get a begin to build this sense of where the colors go. Hey, Cricket Cinema. Hello, hello. Oh, it was kind of thrilling. I'm sort of I appreciate it when people take a little bit of care about that stuff. You want to see the fancy bubble wrap? Let me grab that. I've never seen stuff quite like it. It's got this kind of interesting arrangement to the bubbles. So we got some of the standard, just a regular standard, and I've done printing with this. It works quite well. You can just press it onto your stamp pad or put your medium on it and then press that onto paper. But check out this fancy texture on this stuff. got almost a serpentine sort of an arrangement in these little pillows. So I'll be doing some printing with these. This one, just look at these big, lovely, plushy pillows on that. I'm so easily amused. So we got the giant, the tiny, and the intermediate. So mixed media mess making it will be. And I just couldn't be more thrilled that they had included free shipping for orders over a particular price point. Okay, all right. And you know, the box doubles as a cat toy, so alrighty. Box and yeah, I dropped a little cash and bought some sort of tertiary colors, things that were a little bit different from the 48 count sets. Oh, that's interesting. Supposed to be bonded lead in these, but I've been trying kind of carefully not to give them a drop, so I don't love to see that in a $3.50 pencil, but at any rate, so the 48 count sets have a lot of what I consider to be primary and secondary colors. And they're not subtle, and I tend to do more landscapes and things that are better rendered with some tertiary and kind of muddy tertiary colors and some brights that are not exactly right down the middle of the road primary colors. So how's it going with you? It's nice to see you. Well, it's been a busy week around the protest scene this week. Oh, right, and I'd have to try to figure out which one of these I've already added into the charts. Fast orange. I can't quite see the difference between regular orange and fast orange. They're very close in hue, and I wonder if their standard orange is just not quite light fast. Couldn't find out any information about that, so. Oh, I always think of the little drawing of the rabbit. He was quite a printmaker, Albrecht Dürer. His etchings were really, really sensitively rendered. I'll have to take a look when I'm done and find the smiling spider. So how's your subscriber? You've got enough subscribers, right, to go live when you want to now, yes? Oh, oh my gosh. I don't mean to laugh at you. I mean laughing with you. Yes. I live out in Oregon, and in the last week we had 3 ballot boxes that somebody decided they were going to. Well, it's been in the news. They wanted to interfere with people casting their votes, so somebody thought it was appropriate to put explosives on 3 ballot boxes, 2 in Washington State and 1 in Oregon. And there's not much that pisses me off more than somebody messing with somebody else's right to vote. It really, it's really on my list. So, like you, I will also be about ready to have this concluded. Golden yellow, I think. Let's put golden yellow down there. I was working on a campaign when I was in college to allow a bus pass for all students for $6 for the whole semester. I went to a university where we had housing on campus for, I want to say, 2,000 or 3,000, and the student body was 18 to 20,000, so most students lived off campus. And the fraternities got together and decided that they didn't want to pay a student fee. And basically what the deal was is that every student would pay $6 in student fees, and then that would allow everybody to get an unlimited bus pass. And the buses at my university were fantastic. One of the buses would go up to literally to a wilderness area, trailhead. You could put your bike on the bus and you could go, I mean, all over the whole county. Hey, Maya. And the fraternities got together and they decided that since they lived on campus, that they shouldn't have to support other students' bus passes. And most of the kids that were in fraternities and sororities were higher income, and most of the people who lived, especially quite a distance from campus, were lower income. And it just felt unfair. So they really went to great efforts to stuff the ballot boxes with no votes, and they didn't vote for student body president. The only thing that, if you looked at most of the ballots, the only thing that they voted on was no on this student fee. And there was some unfairness in the way it was done, and so there was another vote, and I campaigned for that for people to support that measure. And when the second, so it had to be, because they had done some things that were unfair. People were voting more than one time and stuff like that. So they redid the elections, and the second time through, we had more yes votes on the measures than they had cast in the entire election of the first time around. So, and people really came out and supported it. They also became aware of what the public transportation was and how easily it worked for students. And so we had a lot of people who came on, who started using bus passes to get places in town. And after I graduated, I went to work for the transit district. So voting voting is important, and not having votes interfered with is important. And I don't think I really have a point to that story. just a story. Hey, Barbara, long time no see. It's lovely to see you. How are you? How are things in Florida? You guys have just had a butt kicking with the weather down there, haven't you? I wasn't sure about going live, and then I thought, I don't know, if I'm being an insomniac up goofing around on Saturday night, maybe some of you guys are too. So I'm glad to see you guys. Aren't they fun? Uh, I'd been saving up to get the rest of the set. So now I've got them all. Now there will be my obligatory period of futzing around with stuff, trying to see what everything looks like, and I'm trying to push through some of that hesitation and the fussing and get on with the making art. I gotta say, doing the live streams does push me a little bit. It's been positive, so I know we got a couple of you out there that are thinking about live streaming, and I just tell you, just jump as soon as you can. It's actually a lot of fun. Exactly, Maya. Maya says, full set syndrome satisfied. They look like oil, but they are a water soluble wax. So the texture is like almost like a Crayola crayon. And then as soon as you put water on them, they turn into watercolor, and the color intensifies a bit. So you can apply them directly to paper, so you get the strokes, and they're blendable, somewhat blendable. And I also got a handful of these new watercolor pencils too, so I'm because I use them together, so I'll just put them on the same swatch card. Pale Geranium Lake. Isn't that a gorgeous color name? So the browns, I don't know if you can see the swatches here. They're really close. Very close. So I don't know if they're they're a bit expensive. I think that I'm sort of falling in love with them a bit, though. They're an interesting medium, but they might not be for everybody. So I would prefer to have a variety of hues instead of like 6 that were super close together. And like one of the things in this line, like this is just not very many greens. It's pretty good in the blues, purples. But there's no chartreuse. Those are really close, aren't they? Light cadmium red and pale geranium lake. The geranium lake is a little bit more intense. Venetian red. I think I already got that on here. I did. Okay. Permanent carmine. Okay, that's quite ruby. I think I'm gonna... Orangish yellow. There we go. And Maya, of course, within 10 minutes of unboxing them, I let one roll off the bench, and it hit the register, which my studio is carpeted, and it hit the edge of the register and broke in half. So it's like my perfect set. Dang it. And exactly. And of course, it was one of the ones that's not in the... I think they must sell like 48, and then there's like kind of their standard basic ones, and both of the art supply stores in town have those. And the one that broke was one of the ones that I had to mail order. So, oh, I love Sonia Delaunay. I had a whole Pinterest board with hundreds of fabrics and illustrations, and Cricket Cinema is talking about Sonia Delaunay, who was an Art Deco, almost I think she was Hungarian, right? Something Czech, Eastern European. And her work was contemporaneous with the Wiener Werkstatt. No, that was Art Nouveau. With Bauhaus. It was more Art Deco, Bauhaus. And her colors were very much Art Deco colors, teals and very much tertiary colors. Oh, yeah, you should look her up. I think there was a movie done about her. I had get that stuff out and use it. Tampa B-Man says, I keep perfect sets perfect by saving them. Yeah. And thank you. You'd frame that color chart. Thank you very much. Yeah. So yeah, Barbara does some paint pouring, and so you combine the gouache with the acrylic, or I mean, when they're both liquid, I would think that would work. Um, uh, Acrylic gouache would work better than standard water-based gouache, but they're both. So the contrast colors. So what might help you with that is to take a look at color theory, and anything that's a um, complementary color. That is to say, it's opposite two colors that are opposite each other on a color chart. There's going to be a vibration with that that is something that it just has to do with the way we perceive colors, the way our visual cortex works. So if you put this blue against, or this purple against this yellow, you're going to get a lot of a visual energy. So that can be a way, if you have a color chart and you can just pick out some complementary pairs. And you can also pick out triads, or if you say you take red and the complementary color to red is a green, right? And if you step each side of that green and maybe go to a blue-green and maybe a more of a yellow-green, that's another way where you can pick out three colors. And those, it doesn't matter which way you go on the color chart, those are always going to have some visual excitement for you. Yeah. Yeah, yep, the opacity and the translucency, that does factor in. And your concentration of your hue, like using a really saturated red with a pale pastel yellow, that's probably not going to be one of the more successful. And I will say, if you look at Fluffer Squirrel UK, she does some paint pouring, and one of the things that she does in hers that I think makes her compositions fairly successful is she almost always uses a very, very dark, like a black or a navy blue or dark teal, and or a white or a cream color that's just very close to white, or pale gray. And another way to get some spark in there is to use a metallic paint, like a metallic gold or a silver. Exactly. So Barbara's saying that visual excitement can mean mud in fluid paint. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep, we've got a couple of Payne's Gray in here. We've got, let's see if I can find them. I think we've got one right here, and then here. And I was just watching something the other day that was talking about you can mix Payne's Gray with Prussian blue, yellow ochre, and Scarlet Lake. Yeah, I don't think I got the red right. It'll come to me. Well, there's Brad. Hello. I'm streaming on a weekend, so you get to... hello. Yeah, I like Payne's Gray. Yeah, Maya uses Payne's Gray beautifully in her watercolor, but it is it's interesting. It's I like I like a very neutral gray, and Payne's gray tends to lean very blue, so golden ochre. Let's see, I need to get a yellow. I kind of want to work my yellows off this way. And I think I am to this very fancy named color, which is yellow. Like this. They have yellow, blue, but there's no just straight green. There's no straight red. So Brad, were you pleased with your asters today? I want to say I was proud of you for sticking with it. I saw that moment of frustration that you had after you did the splatters, and it's not easy to just take a breath and recalculate at all. So I was saying that you did a good job on just staying there. I could tell that you probably had that impulse to just grab it off the table and crumple it up and start over when the spatters got kind of out of hand. And you should be very proud of yourself for taking a breath and then figuring out how to work with what the media was giving to you. Yeah. Geranium Lake. Did I already put this one on here? This was permanent carmine, and I think I decided that one was more red. So I think I've got all of these browns here. This is our canary yellow. Yeah, I'm with you, Barbara, on that. I love that bluish cast to Payne's gray. And I've noticed each company, if you have a Payne's gray and you don't love it, yeah, just look at a Payne's gray made by a different company, because everybody's mix is just a little bit different. Some of them tend more towards a neutral black, and some of them tend to be very blue. Yeah, my thinking on doing this color chart is that if I could see them arranged by value and intensity, that I might have an easier time deciding which crayon to use at which point. Sometimes, for me, if I've got too many choices, I tend to be a quivering jellyfish. Yeah. And then, when instead of making art, I end up sorting my art supplies, or I do a lot of sorting. If you're a person with autism and you do that's something I've talked to other autistic people about, and we really do enjoy sorting and rearranging things. That I think is a legitimate activity. I used to be kind of hard on myself about that. That is an activity of daily living. It counts. This is one of the ones that is in the extended range. It's called Sahara Yellow, and it's a lovely kind of a neutral almost. I like colors like that. So Maya's talking about a color that's called neutral tint, and it's actually color. If you take a look at the color range for watercolors, it's not quite sepia, and it's not quite gray. I'm gonna say this is sepia. It's got a bit of a very dark brown, like dark chocolate, that kind of a brown, and neutral tint kind of. Oh, I think black is definitely a color. I mean, I don't think we need to get into the physics of light and color here. I mean, I can, but do we really want to? Oh, it's very late. Oh, if you have acrylic medium, you can mix watercolor into acrylic medium, and basically, if you get enough medium in it, you can use it to tint that. So one of the folks in chat says that they have a hoard of metallic watercolors, and don't generally use watercolor media. This is pale yellow. It's got a little bit more, almost like an Easter pastel of pale yellow, I would say. So, you guys, did everybody see Nance Drew's update this week? I've seen a little bit of your garage, Tampa B man. It's not a bad garage at all. Maya, good job. Okay, Brad, say you're saving for Posca paints. Ooh hoo hoo. UHUHU. They also make paint markers. They're at a much better price point, and I've seen reviews of those, and people like them better than Posca. So while you're saving, you might be able to get there faster. If you, yeah. Oh, so an update for Boob Tech. Nance Drew has decided to go to trial. and I am so proud of her for making that. It's a it's a big, you got to gulp and have a little faith. So the state's attorney keeps offering these really plea agreements with what I think are pretty crappy, um, like 6 months worth of community service. And I just think, like, when you're involved with something for 6 months, you have so many ways for that to go wrong. And, maybe if you get a community service supervisor who's a jackass and you don't show up, or that you show up and they just didn't mark you, I mean, they can cause you so much trouble. So I think it's just better to get your case adjudicated and get on down the road. So she did talk to Nora, and oh no, Nora is going to work with her to provide some testimony regarding the training for Scientologists to physically approach people, get in their space, because she was trained in that way. So I hope she's going to be able to give an affidavit, and she has even said she would be willing to fly out and testify at trial. So that's terrific. That's nice for Nance to have an expert witness in her corner on this. Her next trial date, mark your calendars, is December 18th. And I think because we've got potentially more witnesses, that Nance needs to raise probably another $1,500 to $2,000. So she's determined, she's such a she's the kind of person who really just wants to take care of herself. And so I've heard her say that she wants to try to do half of that on her own. And if she has a hard time accepting help from people. So I know that's just a bit of a challenge for her. But I hope that we're able to help her meet that goal. And if you have not watched her playlists, she does have several of her playlists that are monetized. So if you've got a chance to just watch a playlist, and I will caution you guys, it doesn't help to rewatch a playlist that you have already watched when you are doing it to support somebody or to help them get watch hours. The way YouTube calculates watch hours, it separates out the viewers. And the watch hours will look like they're racking up at first, and then once the YouTube machine does the calculations, it sorts out to eliminate duplicate views. So don't spend your time watching a playlist over and over again. It doesn't inure a benefit to the person that you're doing that for. It's better to move on and watch other playlists on their playlist or other videos. So, right, Cricket Cinema? Exactly. So you guys may not all know, but she does, she's a therapist, and she works with populations that are, just doing therapy in community settings. That is community service. So, yeah. Unfortunately, Brad asks if the community service, can it be protesting the cult? No, community service is crap like picking up garbage and, sometimes doing work in public parks, or it's not glamorous. It's just for, it's usually a bit of a punishment. Apricot, I think we'll put here. So there was somebody in the community who was trying to get watch hours together, and he had been asking people to watch lists, and then he had watch hours drop off. And it was really, he thought he was really close to being able to be monetized. And what had happened for him, I'm not going to call out his name here, you guys probably know. He's in a couple of chats you guys all also go to. But that was the problem, is that the people who were trying to be helpful and give him watch hours were watching, but their watch only counts once. So if you watch a short 20 times, that person only gets credit for one. Actually, on shorts, it might be different. I know on videos and lives. Yeah. Cricket Cinema says, by coincidence, Nance works with the same kind of team that I've been on for 14 years. See, I like you good people. Yeah, sometimes it can be. Sometimes community service could be working for Goodwill. Or we have a Humane Society, which is a charity that helps stray animals, and that there's very often when I go in there, there's a sullen-looking young person who's been there's behind the counter, or they're sorting out donated goods, and they just look like they're having the worst day of their life because they have to go help out at this charity as community service. Nice. So in one of the Barbara says that they have community service hours for graduation. Well, it's I know one of the things that she's getting part of the accusation is that she was yelling profanities at the person, and that's part of the charging instrument. And I'm hoping that we can get the videotapes up, because the videotapes, if you guys have listened to them, go back to Nance's page, and it's in April, the end of April. So, you know, YouTube goes by months, so like 6 months ago. And if you listen to it, you can tell it's another person in our community who's doing the loud yelling. Here's another one of the new colors, Desert Rose. It's just a light neutral. Almost could almost be used for portraits as a skin tone. Yeah, so I'm hoping that gold, Sahara yellow, pale yellow. I hope that that'll get sorted out. Because she certainly should not get prosecuted for what somebody else is yelling. I mean, nobody should get prosecuted for what they're yelling, unless they're yelling fire in a crowded theater. That's really the limit of free speech in America. You can stand and yell just about anything. You just can't endanger people with your words. And the standard for that is literally, in the 1800s, somebody thought it was a smart idea to yell fire. And in a crowded theater, people got up, they rushed the doors, and some folks were trampled and harmed. And the Supreme Court of the United States said that was too much freedom. So anything short of doing that is allowed in the United States. And trying to kind of racking my brain to think if there's other things about the Nance Drew situation that anyway, you guys just please do what you can to be supportive to her. This color is Chinese green, and it's as close as we get to chartreuse in this range, which is not very. Well, you can't make threats. But as we saw tonight, if you were you guys watching like the Los Angeles protests tonight? Saturday night? I guess it's Sunday morning now, so. Because there was a fella there yelling something about he thought somebody ought to do. It was really awful. And the cops were standing right there while he was doing it, and they didn't arrest him. So I would have thought that under most laws, what he was yelling would have been considered a threat, but it didn't seem to get treated that way, so. Yeah, I was up in chats where I don't usually go tonight. It's kind of wild. But there was some stuff going on over there. I see it was just a weird week in SPTV space land. And yes, I know this one looks awkward where it's at, but I have been looking at this color in this chart for 2 hours trying to figure out where to put the carmine reds. And I finally just went, this is as good a place as any. Yeah, so if you wanted just MD Media was running a stream tonight where he was just kind of watching, observing, and documenting what was going on. So I recommend that one. And yeah, the cops were phooey. I mostly just don't want to start with it because just I'm putting a little code on the ones with the pencil so that I can this is permanent carmine. I like carmine. Carmine's a very pinky red. It reminds me of carnations. But the pencils and some of the watercolor crayons share the same name, so I'm putting a little A for Albrecht Dürer, which is the type of pencil. It's the professional artist grade made by Faber-Castell. These guys make a scratching that I do not find pleasant. Brad says, oh, thank you, Barbara. You learned how to do burnt orange yesterday. What did you mix with what? You're talking about your watercolors, right? So you've got the Cotman set that's got yellow ochre and maybe some burnt umber. Yeah, I think you've got burnt sienna in that Cotman set, Brad, and it is a lovely color to do to mix some colors with. Okay, so this is carmine, and then this is permanent carmine, and you can see the carmine is much more pink. This one shades a little bit more to the orange. Different companies, just how it goes. All right, coming in with our basic purple. So, Barbara, sometimes a photograph or a magazine clipping can be a good inspiration for colors that go well together too. Purple's a tricky one, especially when you're trying to mix it. You can get a lot of kind of dusty, brownish. You can get to puce, which is a very old-fashioned color. But once we had purples, puce fell out of favor. And puce is a brownish purple. Yeah. Brad, I would suggest a book. There's a lovely small book that you could probably find at the art supply store. It's a spiral bound book, and it's got a mixing chart for. It's got color illustrations all the way through that show probably 12 or 20 standard watercolors and what they are like intermixed. And it's things like Prussian blue and yellow ochre, and I think it might also use Winsor blue. And I have used that book quite a lot. It's probably under $20, and it is very, very useful. And I think that would answer your color mixing questions in a visual way, which is very helpful. And let me just cast over and see if I've got it on the bookshelf. If I have it on the bookshelf out here, which I don't, so I'll throw up a post of that book with the ISBN number on my community page later, Brad, and you can probably get it off Amazon used, or in a cerulean blue and magenta. If you can find cyan and process red or magenta or permanent rose, those also make some nice purples. But really, it's worth just investing in the paint if you're going to use much purple. Purple's such a tricky one to mix. Like if you want a nice high hue, it's just going to be challenging to mix. I've looked at that 3 times and I cannot hold it in my brain. Purple, violet. Yeah, purple really entered the paint vocabulary not that long ago. So that's, I think, part of why it's a little bit, yeah. Yeah, cyan, C-Y-A-N. I used to, when I was a silk screen printer and did a lot of that work, I used a lot of the colors that are used in four color printing, like what printing presses use. And that'll be cyan, process yellow, magenta, or process red. Process red is really close to magenta. And then black. And from those four, you can get visually pretty close to any color. I think I'm going to throw this manganese violet right in here. I'm just going to put my little A here and let it dry before I get it wet. So it, as long as you let these dry down, they don't mess with anything. But if you lay them on top of, as I've discovered, if you lay them on top of the colored pencil, when the colored pencil dissolves, some of that pigment comes up and it mixes. Barbara, same. Yeah, Barbara, I'm not really rich. I just spend everything on art supplies. It's my entire entertainment budget. This is one of the lovely things about getting old. I have all of the music CDs I want. I don't need to see any movie until it gets bootlegged onto YouTube, so I don't have to sit in theaters. I did go see the uh, Joan. What's her name? The folk singer. Oh, my brain just went completely blank. There's a documentary about a folk singer, and I went to go see that in the art house theater. I could do without the superhero stuff. Joan Baez. God, my brain. And I will not be able to name the name of it. Something about I am a noise. It was really interesting. And of course, lots of wonderful music. See, Brad, you need to get Sarah involved in this, and then the two of you will have a shared art supply budget. It'll draw in more energy. Oh, Barbara says canvases are so dang expensive. Yeah, that is something I don't. Well, one, have a stash of canvases, but don't buy those unless it's like the semi-annual sale or you get a 40% off coupon. That canvases is definitely something to stock up on. And then if you can kind of keep an eye out, we've got a place out here on the West Coast, I think it's just maybe Oregon area, called Craft Warehouse. And they do a clearance sale in, summer, maybe August. And there will always just be tons of canvases that will be 70 to at least, like 70% off. And so I stock up during those kind of clearance sales if you can keep an eye out for those. Not enough water, too much water. I think this range really excels in these bright, pretty colors, that area. I had high hopes for the browns and greens, the more earth tone landscape colors, but I think the strength of it is probably here and in the blue greens. Oh my goodness. I live about an hour away from Portland, Barbara. We got a meetup. A meetup. Did I just do that backwards? I did. Really? So I used to stretch my own canvas. So once you figured out how to do that, you can buy a miter box and a piece of lumber and just a simple saw. And I like doing that kind of stuff. It's not for everybody, but you can even buy pre-primed canvas, but you can get canvas and then just prime it yourself with gesso. Yeah. Okay, you ask a question, and which side of the highway? The side of impending doom from the fault, or the barely going to make it out alive on the right side? Neither. And I don't want to dox myself, but yeah, I'm kind of like we've got Nora and Liz Gale and Rika and a couple of other protesters that are all out. Oh, Carrie Ann? So we'll just have to have a big old SP meetup. And do a barbecue, because I don't want to go protest. Yeah. Yeah. Has anybody used the, they're not exactly canvas. They're, let's see, these guys. Okay, please do not crash. So they're fiberboard, and they've got a texture like canvas, and a wood frame. But I like to do, because it's a solid surface, you can glue stuff onto it for collage and mixed media work. And I really like these guys. They're sort of a variation on a canvas. So I recommend those. And I would think they'd work pretty nicely for paint pour. if you guys can see. I don't know. I think I'm just gonna have to chuck the blues just like right in the middle of everything here. I don't know how I managed to get myself into an odd corner on this. Periwinkle blue. I always think of Harry Potter when I look at the periwinkle blue. That was the Hermione wore a periwinkle dress to one of the dances. So this was that Fabriano. I'm not sure on this. I just found this little 4x8 pad and it was under $7, so I think the general rule of you get what you pay for is quite true when it comes to watercolor paper. As much as I wish I could find a brand that's very economical, I have not cracked that mystery. Oh, are you alrighty, Barbara? It was lovely to see you, and I'm so glad you're doing art. It was just nice. That's the I went to my last cat was supposed to be a senior cat. She ended up being a 16-month-old cat, but I love a senior cat myself. So, yeah, thanks for coming and spending time with us. Okay, I think I'm running into trouble because I'm looking at the crayons and they are quite a different color. So this is sky blue, and it's very close to this periwinkle. I'm gonna put it right here. And then I'm gonna put mauve. Never quite sure how to pronounce that one. Well, that was a lovely treat to have Barbara with us this evening. This morning, whatever time it is. It's always a treat to have all of you in here. Right? Brad says they have 9 pound a page paper. I used to use an all cotton rag paper made by Stonehenge when I was doing screen printing, and I know there are some papers that just like it's just a pleasure to run your hand across them. The texture is wonderful. You know, from the time I was a small child, I kept scraps of paper and had done paper crafting. Yeah, it is the the Stonehenge that I got was I want to say like 24 by 36. It's great big sheets. But I see your question is for directed towards Brad. So A2 is not very big. Better have flecks of gold leaf in it for that price. And don't laugh, some of the Japanese paper actually does. I didn't get that one wetted very well. Well, you guys, going to the art supply store. I was sitting on a big stash of paper, so I've been on paper probation for a while. I don't know how that little pad of watercolor paper snuck in, because I am definitely on probation for buying paper. But I think the next time I actually let myself go and look at it, I will be quite startled at the price of papers. This one's violet. If you're gonna buy some of these, I would put violet on the list. It's really gorgeous. The royal blue is really pretty too. And greenish blue, nice and vibrant. Oh, wow. So, I've been asking around our community a couple of places, and Brad, you're kind of in the loop on this. Maybe you have the answer. Has L. Ron Hubcult decided to leave YouTube? I can't find his channel. And that means, one, either I managed to get myself blocked and I haven't had any kind of negative interaction with him that would cause that to happen, or he's just decided he's had it. So if anybody knows him, I'm sending well wishes out to him. Oh my goodness. Okay, so Maya says he has taken it down. Well, this is silver. I noticed he was with Miriam in the last week, and I just noticed that his posture and his expression, it just looked like it was hard for him to be there. This is silver gray. So I just will say that I wish him the best. And if it's healthier for him to be doing something else, then 100% I would like him to be doing the things that are healthier and happier. And I hope that at some point he will feel like rejoining us. I hope that we will kind of, as a community, get our shit together and stop with some of the shenanigans that have been going on, and I hope that he'll feel he has a place here. Because what he's going through coming out of the cult, having been trafficked, it's got to be a huge burden. So this color is light cobalt blue, and I'm actually, yeah, I'll just use the crayon. Finally had one that I had to sharpen and peel a little bit of the label back. So you know you're making progress when that's what's going on. Yeah. I noticed the metallics in this range, they do need a fair bit of water to get them activated or converted into a liquid paint. The little metallic particles want to sink down, and they don't dissolve quite as smoothly as the non-metallics. But there's only 3 metallics in this range. There's silver, gold, and bronze. So if you want a metallic purple or green or red, I usually just mix those with the silver. It works pretty well, almost like a neutral metallic that will take on the hue quite easily. Thank you, Brad. And how is your study going? Is it going okay? Are you kind of getting into the step? Because you're in your classes now. So I hope that you're finding your stride. I will share a little something with you before you go, or for later. I did a couple years of college, and then I took some time off, and then I went back to college around age 28. And that first term back, I felt like my brains had turned into mashed potatoes. It was a real struggle. But the second term back, I had better grades than I'd ever had in my life. So I hope you will allow yourself some time to make that transition back into being a student and just go a little easy on yourself. Because you'll get there. It'll happen. There's ultramarine. This is just going to be an awkward little corner. Yeah, it is a challenge to go back, but I found out I actually was a much better student as an adult once I got back. So, but that first term back, I really struggled to get decent grades. That one's cobalt blue. I think we'll go with emerald green. I'm just going to put these kind of, you'll see these ones are very vibrant. Well, the nice thing about what you're doing now, Brad, is that you're picking a topic that is something that you have a deep, like, you get to pick it. It's something you really like, and that will go a long way towards holding your interest and getting you into your studies. And hopefully you won't have too many classes where you feel like it's just a requirement and it's kind of a punishment. I know when I was in school, things like, as a young person, I could not have been less interested in history. I have developed a love for history as I've aged, but as a young person, I just didn't have enough knowledge to really have much context. And so, if I was taking a history class in high school, I'd just kind of get a crappy grade in it. If I liked the topic, I'd do okay. Yeah, I never understood that, 14 and 15-year-olds were just fascinated with history. I couldn't, for one thing, I couldn't process the dates because they were numbers. And it took a while to kind of figure out how to visualize. I could visualize a century, but I can't do numbers. And I can't explain it other than, because I have dyscalculia, so my brain just doesn't process numbers. And it just took a while to kind of build a mental framework that included enough centuries. It wasn't until I started to study art history. And because I always loved art, so once I kind of got things like the Renaissance and medieval times and got a mental map for that, I could fit things like world wars around what I knew of art history. And that probably sounds kind of goofy, but that was how it came together for me. So I've got this beautiful ivory, but I think I'm just going to tuck it right up here. Oh, maybe here. Maybe it makes more sense right here. So you just never know what it is that's going to kind of operate as the key to your mental concept of some other discipline, I guess. Oh, my brain just told me that I dropped that pencil with the broken lead on the floor earlier. That's probably what did it. Hey, no face? No face is here? Okay. All right. Hopefully Brad's not listening. Yeah. Hi, no face. Yes, Maya, that happened today. Where was I? Oh, I was in your stream. Yeah, that is thanks to you and Brad. You guys let me drop my links in your chats today because I was holding at 199 for like a week. And I was like at 197, then it went 199 and then down to 198 and then back to 199. I was like, I just wanted to get to 200, so. Yeah, and I cracked 20,000 views. You guys, give me a minute I like to do my analytics special interest rundown. Yeah, 70, what I have, like 75, 76 videos now. So almost 21,000 views, and I'm over 1,000 watch hours. So, yeah, I'm at like 1,100 watch hours. So, whoop 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 whoop. For those of you with earbuds in, sorry. Yeah, I am getting stuff going. I kind of unleashed a corker of a community post this week. I wasn't sure. It was something that's just been on my mind. It's been bugging me. I was in a couple of chats where people were giving the mods just a miserable time. And so I let fly about that. And you guys are always just absolute angels. The people that are not angels are people who come in and just, give me a hard time about it. My answer is like, if you don't like it, make your own channel and do it your way. But, you know, which is, probably part of my charm. Yeah, thank you, No Face. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's come along. I wasn't sure. I had no idea how it would go, and it just seemed like those um those those things that you have to do to be able to have a like a store, right? Or it seems like a high hurdle because it's 500 subscribers and 3,000 watch hours. And like when you only have 5 subscribers and 2 watch hours, it seems impossible. But as long as I'm cranking out and sharing my stuff, uh, ideally when I was doing it at three streams a week, and I think the last couple of weeks I've only been at 2 because I've been doing some modding for Nance Drew and some other stuff in the community, and but I know like now I know if I just get my 3 streams a week and then it comes together. It comes together. I want to do, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I want those 2 blues together. Boy, I've just put myself in a corner with this. I'm going to sneak this lime green in right here. That lime green? Yep. Yeah, so it's actually the goal I had for myself was to do it within 6 months, and I think it's gonna come together as long as I just do my work, show up and share the art. Once I reach that, I'm gonna try to do more horizontal format because I think the picture is better. But I'm grateful that not too many people complain about vertical format. You guys are all really good sports about that, and I appreciate it. But it just doesn't. I don't get the subscriptions, and I don't get the view count. I think the last one I did was at 630 views on that last live stream I did. So. When I'm getting that kind of those kind of watch hours, I can't really argue with it at this point. I feel like once I've reached that threshold, then I can just do it any darn way I want to. Peggy Guggenheim, I want to be her when I grow up. She was like the original advanced style woman. And she moved to Venice. She went to Venice, Italy, and said, I love it here, and I'm going to move here. And who wouldn't want to be Peggy Guggenheim when they grew up? When did I start doing the live streams? I want to say, this is I might just be starting month 4. I want to say the end of June. Yeah, I think the end of June. So this is grass green. Do I want to put grass green here? Yes. Who said something? Somebody said something about. Oh, Cricket Cinema. I minored in anthropology. If I had started at the university, I actually started at a what we call we call the 2-year colleges community colleges out in the Pacific Northwest. They're called junior colleges in other parts of the country, but they offer 100 and 200 level classes. And they had a very limited selection of anthropology. So I took those classes. They were quite, I don't think we even had any 200 level ones. But when I went to the university, there was a whole anthropology department and a very high quality one. So I did my senior thesis on you could kind of take cultural anthropology or I'm forgetting what it's called, like the stuff Louis Leakey did with the fossils and that kind of more physical anthropology. And I studied cultural anthropology and did a thesis on the legal systems in Vanuatu. Just, you will never need to use that unless you live in Vanuatu. Yeah. What kind of receipts do you have, Cricket Cinema? Boy, that green, it's almost like a neon green, isn't it? It is a lot. This is turquoise green. Yeah. One of my prized possessions is an autographed Margaret Mead book. Such a nerd. I think these, one of the things I like about this Neocolor 2 is that they stay pretty much the same hue wet as they are in crayon form. Whereas the watercolor pencils, the pigment tends to change. Even when it dries down, it's a little bit different from the just using the pencil dry. Hi, Nobot. Oh, thank you so much. I try to make that a fairly low threshold, but if I don't have, yeah, I appreciate your patience and thank you for it. If I don't put that in here, there's a troublesome cluster of just live feed trolls. They're not like in our community, but they're just live feed trolls that just come in and they misbehave and I'm too old to put up with that nonsense. So it turns out like they don't even have 1 minute's worth of patience. I think I had it at 5 minutes for a while, and then I thought, wonder if I could bump that down, and that's all it takes is just a 1 minute. They'll just scroll on and give somebody else a hard time. Yeah, you guys have all been so terrific. I loved her face. She had such an interesting face. And back then, people would. I know there was plastic surgery available, in the 40s and 50s, but she just said, I've got my face, and this is bright green. And so, she had this face and this nose, and she wore these amazing glasses that looked like a bat with its wings extended, and fantastic bracelets and fantastic clothing and sensible shoes. I love those pictures of her in the gondolas in the canals in Venice, and I could just see that she moved around that environment, and I got to spend a little bit of time in Venice when I was studying the semester that I did in Europe. And Venice is an extraordinary city. I've never been any place like it. For one thing, it's a fairly big city. There's a lot of people who are bustling around and doing, people stuff. But there are no cars because there are no streets, because it's all canals. So you'll hear the kind of the putt-putt of the Vespas, and you hear the diesel, the kind of chug, 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 chug of the diesel water taxis that move through the canals. And almost everywhere you go, the lapping of the water, because there's a tide that comes in and out, so the water laps against the foundations. And it smells like the ocean, and it has the sound of boats and people. But it doesn't have the sound of cars going around all the time. And it's just really extraordinary. Amsterdam is a bit like that too, in that it is sort of stolen from the sea, and the rings, the circular canals, are sort of dredged up, and it's held. Lots of canals, lots of boats, but also there are cars in Amsterdam. So it sounds kind of cool, but nothing's like Venice. Yeah. And it's artful. There's art everywhere. Everything, the buildings are beautiful, and you can go to the outer islands, to Murano and Burano, and watch glass blowers. And there's an island where I think it's Burano as well, where there's lace makers, Venetian lace. And the old ladies sit on the stoop, and they work this amazing bobbin lace. It's just extraordinary. Yellow green. Yeah, it's still a shock to me sometimes. I'll think about having been able to travel like that, and it wasn't anything I was brought up with. It was one of those economic flukes that there was one summer where the dollar was super, super strong, and I just had a chance to get into an educational program and had a little bit of money that I had stashed away that I used for the rail pass. And every time I had a free moment, I just basically dashed to the train station, looked at the departures board, and went wherever the next train was going every chance I got. And I thought when I came back, I was like, oh, I'm so worldly now. I'm just a traveler. I'll do this again. And I've never done it again. It's difficult in life to find yourself in good circumstances where you can travel. I mean, people who can do that are very fortunate. And I'm lucky that the one chance I had, I took it. And I'm glad that I went and that I paid attention and I filled my head with all of these sights and sounds and smells and experiences. Well, there's yellow-green. So I think I did a pretty good job of getting the intense colors on one end and the earthy colors kind of here. So that'll be useful. Oh, Cricket Cinema said her sister was mean about her nose and she had fabulous earrings by Alexander Calder. She also had a fantastic lapel pin by Alexander Calder, as well as a number of his sculptures. And you know who else had a wonderful Alexander Calder brooch? Georgia O'Keeffe. Also a woman of I won't say like she didn't have she had a style that she stuck with that I like quite a lot, her aesthetic, but I don't recommend reading a Georgia O'Keeffe biography. You'll probably like her better if you don't know all of all of the ways she was kind of not a super nice woman. But my goodness, could she paint? Yeah, she had a brooch that had her initials. Georgia O'Keeffe. Did I say that right? Yeah. Well, how are we doing on time? We are coming up on 2 hours. I might have time for a little pebble drawing. If you guys are so inclined. Well, so Cricket Cinema says that Peggy Guggenheim's sister was nasty to her, and I have to say, well, we know who Peggy Guggenheim was, and I have no idea about her bitchy sister, so maybe it pays to just be nice and work with what you got. So, yeah, the little mini art history lesson is that Peggy Guggenheim opened a museum of modern art that is, to this day, it's still in existence in Venice, Italy. And I did not know about it at the time I was in Venice, and it's one of the regrets I have that I sure wish I had been able to go see it. I just didn't know about her then, and I didn't know about the I was just in Venice like from Friday night till Sunday night, so I didn't have a ton of time to be there. How about something fall colored? No Smurf. Oh dear. Oh, thank you. Oh, I'm so delighted by that. Alrighty, let's go to a micron number 3. Oh, Maya, you should Google, well, not right now, but put it on your list and Google Peggy Guggenheim. Um, the Guggenheim, the Guggenheims also, well, they had a lot of money, and the oh, Cricket's gonna help me out here. Is it the Museum of Modern Art in New York that is Frank Lloyd Wright designed, the one that spirals up? That's the Guggenheim, isn't it? Anyway, the family has spent quite a bit of their fortune, I'm sure, doing some nefarious things, but also building art museums. And Peggy Guggenheim uh, took up residence. She went to Venice and fell in love with it, and she built a modern art museum. And she went out, like, she did the acquisitions herself, and she was quite disciplined about it. I don't remember the exact number, but I think she set out to buy so many works of art per week, and she supported artists like Alexander Calder, and made quite a contribution to modern art. And she was just incredibly had this idiosyncratic style that I just think was just terrific and quirky, and um, like I said, as an adult, I think about playing. I played dress up as a kid. We had boxes full of clothes and costumes, and I imagine myself in my old age just putting on stacks of Bakelite bracelets and have jackets made out of Japanese kimono fabric, and I don't know where I go in this get up, but I keep thinking I'm almost old enough to wear this fantastic wardrobe. You just have to, whatever that milestone is where you don't really care what people think about your eccentric clothes, whatever that age is, when I get there, that's what I'm gonna go traipsing around in. It's either that or cargo shorts and t-shirts. I can't decide which one I want. Uh, okay, well, yeah, her father, but uh, there was the Guggenheim family, so I love how we almost always take a turn and talk about art history in these live streams. One way or another, it works its way in. That was my first college class was art history, and even though I've been disabled for years, the one thing that's a constant in my life has been art. So if I could go back and do it again, or if I could encourage a young person, or even a not so young person who gets a chance to go back and study. If you love art, do art. But I had a lot of people, including my parents, saying, oh, you can't make a living doing art. But when my ability to earn a living was stripped away and I found myself a disabled person, the things that I learned to help me make money, those were gone. But making art, that's still here. And some of us just have that capacity. People who don't, I think, are very quick to say, oh, do something practical. My father ran a printing press, which is actually, you know, quite a good way to make a living doing something that that is practically, for all practical purposes, it is making art. But back when my dad was a pressman, there were no women who did that job. So, you know, it's a shame he didn't encourage me to kind of come into it, because I might have been an okay pressman. At any rate, I think we put, especially in America, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to do. And it turns out that I think life is, it's a lot about just being. It's a lot about accepting what you are, what your skills and talents are. That I didn't have to do being an artist. I had to be being an artist. I also happen to believe that creativity is an essential, or not an essential, but an integral part of being human. I think that most everybody, to be human is to be creative. I think a lot of people don't view themselves as creative, but I like to think that some folks just haven't figured out what their medium is. You know, I'm working in watercolor and mixed media here. This isn't for everybody. Somebody else they might work on a car. They might be able to tune a car so that it just runs perfectly. That's a talent and a skill. Somebody else might play a piano or bake a loaf of bread or knit or be able to visualize things and feed that into a 3D printer and print out something that's a sculpture, essentially. Or perhaps, I mean, now we have so many more tools. We've got these AI image generators, Cricut Cinema. You'd do some very cool stuff with that tool. So I always tell people, you may, especially people who say, "Oh, I'm not creative. There's not anything I could do." There is. You just haven't found your medium yet. Please keep looking, because there's something out there. Solomon Guggenheim. Okay, that's the museum in New York. Wow, I feel like so many families had. Cricket Cinema says that. Can I try like a one full sentence? I will try. Cricket Cinema says Ben Guggenheim was a relative. I think he went down on the Titanic. And Peggy Guggenheim is related to Solomon Guggenheim, who started the museum in New York. So there were a lot of families in New York that lost members in the sinking of the Titanic. I had no idea my dad was even aware. I mean, I knew, like, most everybody knows about the Titanic and that it sank. A few years ago, my dad said he was going to Nova Scotia, and was kind of surprised by that because we don't have family in Nova Scotia. And I questioned him a little bit, and he said, "Oh yeah, there's a whole bunch of survivors of the Titanic are buried in Nova Scotia." And then we had a conversation. It turns out my dad was kind of a Titanic buff. Oh, he's been popping up today. I'll have to send him a text tomorrow and see how he's doing. Sometimes when people pop up into your conscious awareness, there's something going on, and it's good to check in with them. So I spent a summer down in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and Georgia O'Keeffe lived in New Mexico. Ghost Ranch. So when I was down there, there was a building in the Plaza of the Governors, which is the town square of Santa Fe, that was going to be the museum. It is now the museum. But it wasn't open. They were still building it out. And I think that might have been. I think she may have come in and spent some time living in Santa Fe, like in the really brutal parts of winter. Or maybe it was only just her studio space, but you could walk around the outside of it, and there were cow skulls hung along the patio of it that just had the aesthetic of her paintings. And if I can find that photo, I'll throw it up on the community page. But being out in that landscape, she really did capture that high desert landscape. Oh, we finally got a background where I'm making some good-sized pebbles this time. But I had some family that were living down in Santa Fe, doing some work there for a while, so I had a chance to go and stay with them, and it is certainly a different landscape from the Pacific Northwest. I had the strangest sensation after being there for a few weeks, which was that my eyes started to feel hungry to see green. There's no green in the landscape down there. It's all deserty. And some pine trees, but they're more blue-green than grass green. So I was very glad to get back to Oregon in the Pacific Northwest, where my eyes just were happier to look upon a little bit of green in the landscape. Alrighty. Well, it was a pretty satisfying drawing. Got the color chart completed. Had the other one from earlier in the day. Got a little mini one of the basic colors. Thanks everybody for coming in. We're gonna wrap it up here. So glad that you guys are so kind to one another in chat. I really appreciate that. Thank you for the follows. Thank you for the likes. Thank you, no face, no bot, no smurf. Is that who we had? Oh, no shot. Well, there was a whole crowd. Oh, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I hope everybody will spend a little time tomorrow. Just do a little reading about art. Make some art if you've got a coloring book. Do a little coloring. Do a little dabbling. And we'll see you all on the next live stream. Thanks again.